Hello, Shane McCusker here, Intelligent Software. I recently put a blog post out about WordPress and some of the vulnerabilities that are there, and I was contacted by my good friend Jan Tigze. Have I pronounced that right, Jan?
Oh yeah.
Who is done a lot of work in WordPress security specifically. So we thought we'd put together a little video conversation between the two of us, just looking at WordPress security, what the risks are, what you need to do. Jan, first question before we alarm people too much, is WordPress a good platform for running a website?
Absolutely it is. I'm running probably around like 20 websites on WordPress and at the moment, and every year I'm building around 15 plus minus websites for various people. So I believe it's secure, but you need to spend the time and invest the time to maintain the site, the plugins, and all those things. And of course, the first thing you need to do is to protect it.
Yeah. Well, just as my anecdote that was in my blog, within the last 10 days now, I randomly looked at two of my customer websites and realized that both of them had been hacked. And I'll explain how I realized both of them had been hacked. It wasn't that difficult, but there are 1/3 of the websites in the world, approximately, are based on WordPress. And that means it's a big target for hackers.
Yep.
So what are the hacks? Why do people hack WordPress websites? What can go wrong?
Well, because it's already happened to me in the past, so I know several of those attacks. So first of all, there are a few types of it. If your site is hacked, they try to steal the data. That's one of the options. If you have a really huge database of people there, they will try to steal the data. That's the reason why I'm trying not to keep any data on the WordPress sites about anybody or almost anything, because I don't want to lose those data. The second thing is people, when they hack your site, they can use it to share the spam or use your site to get better rating on Google by creating lots of other sites that with like backlinks and linking on other sites. And usually they are also able to create like landing site for their scam when they're even I saw like 2 years ago I saw somebody create eShop. So they were selling boots, like fake boots, but basically they were scamming people. And it's really hard to find those people because they were using your site. And they're also using it to spam, so sending spam to other sites. Or one of the option is they are using, or they are going to use your website and your server power to attack or basically do the DOS attack on any other site. And there are so many other ways how they can basically steal your data.
Yeah, there's lots of ways that WordPress sites or any website can be attacked. And if you think about the different ways that websites can be attacked, then you need to protect against the different types of attack. So one would be like a brute force attack, where they guess, they get a server to automatically throw passwords at your login screen to see if anything goes through. There's lots of people that use the same passwords over and over again, so passwords can be stolen. There's a lovely website called I've Been Pwned. Have you seen I'veBeenPwned.com, where you can find out if you've been part of a data breach? But there's I think there's something like 10 billion accounts on that website, and that's more than the population of the planet. So, I mean, it's incredible the amount of information that's out there to hackers. Well, what else we got? We've got denial of service attacks, where somebody just wants to be a nuisance and keeps bombarding your website with calls, try and shut it down and overload it. Probably the most common one is a technical one. It's called cross-site scripting. Have you come across that one, Jan? That's a really difficult one to
like
find out.
every single day somebody's trying to attack one of my sites through
Yeah,
that.
that just but to demystify that a little bit, effectively what it is, if you have a forum or something where people can comment on something, if they put in a code like JavaScript or something, then it reappears when somebody else loads the form, and that JavaScript can run. And therefore, it's not attacking your website. It's using your website to attack the people that visit your website, which is quite scary. What else have we got? We've got you can do other SQL injection, code injection, where you're putting stuff in that runs on your server. Those are probably the main ones, and every one of them is different, and every one needs to be defended differently. So what? How do you approach this problem? I have a fairly simple answer to this one: is keep your site updated. But you tell me
Well, the
what you
best
think.
thing is not to put your site online and it's protected.
Yeah.
But I'm using the combination of several things. So first of all, it does start with a service called Cloudflare.
Uh-huh.
It's the content delivery network that is preventing or stopping lots of bots, DOS attacks, and other things similar to that. And it's one of the best tool I ever used for a website. It's really amazing. So cloudflare.com, just check it. It's free for if you need some basic protection, and it's great. The other thing that I'm using is I'm trying to find the reliable and good company that is going to host my website. I started with SiteGround. They are really great. They've got really amazing support. And now I'm using management cloud hosting from Cloudways. And that their system and their security is really amazing. So you've got content delivery network protection from Cloudflare, then web hosting from Cloudways. The other thing you need to consider is when you install the WordPress on your server or your web hosting, you need to protect that. So I'm using WordFence as one of the firewall that is preventing all those various attacks that you just described. And I'm also using various other protections for on my contact forms. So like honeypots, reCAPTCHA from Google, and other tools that will help me to track who is attacking on my website, informing me that my site is down, or my protection is down, or if there is if there are some issues on the website. And one of the things that you need to also consider is that many attackers will try to use your site to spread viruses. They are also going to try to add, for example, if you have lots of visitors, so they will add some scripts. They will run like bitcoins when you visit the website in your browser, like the mining of those cryptocurrencies. So one of the tools I'm also using is called Malcare. Is the imagine like antivirus for your website, and together with WordPress, you have the option to stop those attacks, and also be sure that if somebody broke your firewall and import or install some malware on your WordPress, Malcare should cover that. But those are the tools that are running on your website. The reason why I also recommend to choose really good web hosting company like the Cloudways or the SiteGround, because they are also tracking if something suspicious is happening on your account, and they will be able to find and block any attacks that could occur and that could happen to you. And the last thing that is really important, and it's probably one of the most important things that you need to consider to do, is to protect your WordPress, and you need to constantly update the plugins and the whole site, because that, it's the software, so there are always some kind of bugs or errors. So you need to be sure that your WordPress is updated and your plugins are updated, because there, like every month, there is at least one or two serious issues that with those plugins, and through those plugins your site could be hacked by hackers. They can get your administrative account, they can reset your password, replace the emails, and those things are things that you can stop by using firewall and all those things that I described to you. And of course,
I'm going to have to. I'm going to stop you there, because
yeah, sorry.
You're obviously getting excited, but you've downloaded so much stuff there. Let's go back and try and break that
Sure,
down a little bit. Way back when I mentioned updating your website, I'm glad you got onto that one. The primary way that WordPress sites and most other websites get hacked is because the software is old.
That's
And
correct.
companies that develop software release updates, security updates all the time. And that does two things. It fixes a vulnerability and it tells every hacker in the world that there's a vulnerability. So if you want to signpost a website to hack, all you do is you send a bot out to search the internet to try and find software that uses the old versions of code. And I've got a fair idea that the two websites I saw hacked in this last week, one of them definitely, because I got inside to see what was going on, used a plugin called Contact Form 7, which is
Yeah.
massively popular. Millions of sites use it. And it had a known vulnerability and they panicked. And so many sites got hacked as a result of it. And they put out the update and so many people didn't update it.
Yep.
Because, and this is the shocking thing, on WordPress, you can turn on auto updates. You can turn it so that the system automatically updates, and that doesn't quite work all the time, but and because there's different layers of it, but you can do it, and so many people don't bother. You know,
they started with that like a few months ago, so you can update automatically everything. The problem is that most people who get the website done by some developer,
yeah,
they don't know about it. They are happy with the website because they
so it
don't care
works. It's not
what
broken.
is
Yeah,
what is how the backend looks like, because
yeah,
they never log in,
they
or
never go there.
they don't care. They are receiving the email through the contact form and it's working for them.
Yeah,
And when they set it up, some things automatically, or those plugins automatically will be updated, it could break, and in most cases has some effect on the design. And that's the reason why so many people don't turn that. And that's also the reason why I'm, for example, manually update most of those plugins manual for my clients, because I just want to be sure that their site is not going to create any issue. If it's automatically updated, then their site could be destroyed for several days before they find out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have the same. I write plugins, and when we're uploading ours, I still do it manually because of the fact I'm scared our plugin might break something else. Even though we do a lot of testing, you don't really. You see, the problem is with these sites, people have a habit of installing plugins everywhere, and if you're a plugin developer, your plugin could conflict in some way with somebody else's plugin, and you don't really know. And so you have to be careful when you're updating things. But if you don't update, you've got a problem, particularly if you're using the big ones. The other one I'd say, which is blindingly obvious unless somebody says it, is that get rid of any software, plugins, or themes that you're not using. I mean, the site that I was looking at had the plugin installed. It was probably hacked through it, but didn't use it. And you go, why did you have that? It's just an open door waiting to be hacked.
Those developers, they update and create a website and update everything there, but after several months, the customers, they don't care about it. They don't want to pay that money to those developers. And because it's so easy to create the website on WordPress, then people are doing them themselves, and that's completely okay. But they have no knowledge about security and how to secure it. And I paid a heavy price during the years, and my site of several years ago, they were hacked, and I'm pretty sure that my one of my sites will be hacked in the future for sure, because that's the reality. What kind of scares me when people create a website and they're like, oh, it's going to work, and then they called me like, hey, my site is doing some funny stuff, and then they spend more money on the recreating this website to be sure that all the malware and all the data or the bad codes are gone, rather than create it and spend some time and investment to protect it. And installing the firewall and setting it up properly, that's very small investment, and it will help you to cover that website for months and years without any issues.
Well, now let's go back a little bit there, because you're again, without wanting to scare anybody with getting too technical, you've actually talked about firewalls, which are there to protect against attacks, and some of the other is Cloudflare there to stopping attacks coming in?
Cloudflare is amazing. I love the whole. They've got several technology they are offering, and I'm really they're a huge fan. Cloudflare is I'm using Cloudflare as a DNS for all my domains. So when I'm changing the web hosting, I'm basically just type the different IP, and within a few minutes, it's redirected to somewhere else. But the Cloudflare is also offering the like first layer of protection. If I'm going to visit their website and read it, so basically they are going to protect you from DOS. They are also protecting people from various attacks from bots. So if you are attacking somebody scraping your data, it helps you to stop that. And they also have several other things that are helping your WordPress site to run smoothly and faster. Like they cache the data, they've got various load balancers, they offer SSL for your website, because if you don't have any SSL, then your site will not going to appear on the first place or almost any place on the in a Google, because they are only scraping those sites with SSL. And they also offer various other things that will help you to build better website and better and faster website. So definitely Cloudflare should be the first level of any protection, and you should start with Cloudflare to move to use that at least as a DNS for your domain, to protect those domains against.
All right. Well, I jump in. Obviously, you're an enthusiastic about Cloudflare, and I'm going to have to go and investigate. But there are other ways of doing that. We run our own servers, and well,
Yep.
I don't get overly involved in it, but I have a consultant who deals with it for me. But you what you're describing as all these different layers of security. And it's about, at a very fundamental level, you build your security all the way up, and you need to be very on the ball to appreciate the complexity of this. I mean, you really do have to be a real expert in server management and server security to do all that. Now, if Cloudflare is able to offer that off the shelf, that's great. There are other ways of doing it.
Yep.
So now, again, I'm going to go back because you were jumping all over the show earlier on, Jan. No harm to you.
But no, I'm just
there's stuff you do
to
protect your server against attack. So people bombarding it with calls, or people trying to brute force their way in with passwords, or people wanting to inject malicious code. There's also stuff you can do that protect your website to stop it allowing malicious code to be entered. You need to close the doors, and that means updating your software, but it also means there are different ways you can put barriers in there, and that's what you're talking about, the firewalls. And I assume you're also talking about things that you can do other stuff to prevent the queries that are going into your site containing malicious stuff. So there's barriers there.
Yep.
And then you also jumped on and you talked about monitoring, and monitoring is different. Monitoring isn't about stopping the attack. It's trying to work out if you are being attacked or if you have been attacked. And there's a couple of different types of monitoring you can do as well. And what's your take on that?
So I love various tools that I'm using for monitoring the websites. So you first of all, you will need to have some tool that will help you to understand if your site is not running at all. There are tools like Pingdom alerts. There is a I believe robots uptimer or something like that, and other tools that will monitoring if your site is not accessible to people. That's the first sign that your site could experience some issues. And because I'm running I'm running several servers across the globe in various web hosting centers. So I know that I can go and access those servers or web hosting, and I can see the monitoring, what is going on that server. So if there is you can see that your memory is completely exhausted for something, so you need to investigate what happened there. You can also check if your logs is full of errors. So something is happening, and that's the reason why you need to also properly set all those logging information and logs and alerts on web hosting or your server, and also use third-party services that are constantly, like every minute or every 30 seconds or 5 minutes, it doesn't matter, to check your website that is still running, because there could, if those if your site is not accessible, that could be the first sign that something malicious is happening behind your back, and you need to investigate what's going on there.
Yeah. The now some of the stuff you were describing there is not necessarily a hack. It's just about good server managing your server to make
Yeah.
sure it's nice and healthy and it's responding quickly. And as servers change and software changes, things can break. You could apply an upgrade and of some piece of software and it would break. There's some hacking attempts. We still recommend you upgrade everything, but there are ways that people can hack and it's triggered by an upgrade, but that's getting quite technical and beyond my pay grade, to be perfectly honest. There's also some stuff there's also other remote monitoring you can use, which is also quite good. I mean, I'm just even use the Google search, search.google.com, which is the way of monitoring your SEO. It has security features on it. It'll do testing on it.
Yep.
You can also check your website against the antivirus servers around the world and see if your website's coming up there as being listed. The two sites that I found, I'll tell this anecdote. The two sites that I found, and this is because I wasn't looking for hacking. I went on to one of them and it didn't respond, and I thought that's a bit strange. I thought that was there because we checked it. We looked at it a few weeks earlier. We're going to try and help them out in some way. So then I did a Google X-ray search, which hopefully the sources watching this know what that is. It's site colon and then the domain name. And lo and behold, I found 500 pages, which I'll say it's Chinese character sets. I don't know what language it was, but I thought that ain't right. And there's something definitely wrong there. So when we started finding all these pages that were coming up that were obviously nothing to do with the company, we got onto them saying, I think your website's been hacked. And so it had. In the other instance, a different company asked me to look at see if we could change our interface with their site. So I said, well, sure, give me a login. So, well, you go on to our site /WP admin or whatever it was to log in. I went there and there was nothing there. I thought, well, that's a bit strange. And so I had to go get in touch with their hosting company and spend half an hour in support and got in a different way and realized that when you went onto their site, it said on the homepage, hacked by, and then the name of the hacker. That was a fair indication that their site had been hacked. So it's actually quite difficult to find all the different ways that a site can be hacked. Your website could be hacked and you will never know. Yep. Somebody has your username and password and they don't use it or don't go onto it, or they just go in and view stuff and then come out again. You will never know. It can be very, very difficult to detect that.
That's correct. And there are also ways, there are several sites like vpsec.com and others that you can use to check your WordPress and found some vulnerabilities if that site is protected, or what the attackers can see, and they can using these type of tools to find out if your site is also is your site has some kind of old plugins, so they can target it and they can basically hack those or hack your site through those old plugins. So there are several tools that you can also use to validate your website security from outside tools.
Yeah. So according to the stats that I was looking at, the number one by a long, long way reason that people get hacked is they don't update things. Yep. The next obvious way they get hacked, which is a good bit safer, is because they use an unsecure password. Or they use a password that has been involved in a data breach, or they do something silly. Now, I only found out recently, I can't, the one that got hacked, I said, well, would help her out because customer dealt with it, and it didn't take us long to do it. We rebuilt our website for her, but we did it on her hosting platform. And I was a bit shocked to see they have this lovely hosting platform that you can go in and just say, set me up a WordPress website, and it sets the whole thing up. Yep. WordPress is that simple. Anybody can do it themselves. But this one said the default password or the default username was admin. I thought, that's a bit old-fashioned. And it is. There's people that you're still service providers who have the old, this is how you set up WordPress stuff, which sets all the default settings. And you get into these websites with a username and a password. And if the username is always going to be admin, then the brute force attacks only ever have to guess a password, and it's really, things like that you look at and you go, well, that's a bit silly.
And that's the reason why you need to choose the company that knows their stuff. So that's
Yeah.
the reason why I mentioned SiteGround or Cloudways, because they know, well, when you click on or select the option one-click install of WordPress, you will not only get, or we will not get like silly username like admin or admin1 or something, but you will get some really cryptic username and really long password. All my passwords are at least 20 plus characters. And not because I'm paranoid, but because I believe that's how the security should looks like. And that's the reason why it's really important to choose the good provider, web hosting provider, who understand how WordPress and those things are working. Because many users who are installing those WordPress instance, they don't have enough knowledge about the security or how to secure the WordPress. So they just use the default passwords, default logins name, and that's also one of the problem because it's easier to hack those.
Yeah, it is possible to set up two-factor authentication with WordPress.
Yep, of
And
course.
that is definitely worth doing if it's appropriate. Sometimes it's not appropriate. Sorry, you go ahead.
Now, one more thing. Don't use SMS as a way how you authenticate. This is the two-step verification. Use
Really?
some application like, I don't know, Google has some, I don't know, all those applications. I've got several of those them at my phone. So here we go. So Google Authenticator is the one. Authi or Authenticator from LastPass, those are generating the codes, and so attacker is not able to get that SMS if they are tracking your phone or if you lose your phone. So it's way better to use those applications
I thought SMS was quite secure. You're now making me very worried, Jan.
No, that's SMS is the worst way how to authenticate anything because, and I believe it was also banned by European Union recently, and all banks need to remove that SMS from their verification statuses, and I believe it's from January.
Okay, my bank still uses it, so okay. Right, there we are now. Okay, well, better think about that one. I was going to say something else. Yeah, what I do with passwords and WordPress sites is, I mean, I get invited to go into our customer sites we have WordPress plugins that we put in, and if I went in just to help somebody, I'd set it up or configure it, whatever it is. I would say to them, okay, make me a user on it with my email address, and then that means I get an email, I go in and set a password, and I log in with my own password. But I actually never remember that password. I don't record it anywhere. So then if I need to go in the next day, I say, forgot my password, and they send me a new link. So effectively, I verify it with and the reason I do that is so that if I get hacked, that I don't have somebody else's password on my computer somewhere.
Well, you can use LastPass that I'm using for several months because I switched the password managers, and I love LastPass and those password managers because I can store the passwords there. I can set up two-step verification for that. So if somebody hacked me, then they need to know, they still need at least the automatically generated password or code from my phone, or they need to know master password too. So that's one of the options how I'm working with those. About every single time when somebody give me the access to their WordPress and create my username, automatically changing the password or resetting password for my account, just to be sure that that password is not going to lay somewhere in the Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp. And I don't even trust Telegram or Signal, so I just always trying to reset the password right after I get it.
Yeah, get somebody to post it to you.
Oh,
that's the way to do it. Okay,
funny, but so it's happened to me at least once.
Yeah. The security, as you can tell, security is one of those things. You assume that you have to assume you're going to get hacked. It's not a case of you do that. You don't do this stuff to prevent getting hacked. You do this stuff because you will be hacked. Yeah. And if you embrace that attitude, then that's a positive step. You've also got the challenge of if you are hacked, what do you do then?
Well, you've got several options. You've got companies that you can hire through, like, you can find on Google, and they are companies that are basically fixing the issues for you. They're also like the company like Malcare. You can install their product, and when that plugin is find the malicious software on your WordPress, you can hire them or pay the fee, and they will remove it. You can also hire somebody from Upwork or Fiverr, from those sites, that will help you with that. You can call me, but I'm busy, so sorry. And the last option is that you will basically try to fix yourself by yourself. My recommendation is to create a new website from the scratch if it's possible, because fixing the site that was hacked is incredibly painful. And the last time I did that, and it was small site, it took me 6 hours to fix it, and I still wasn't sure that that site was really fixed. So I built a whole website from the scratch, and it took me 8 hours.
Yeah,
So
that is a problem with hacking. Once you've been hacked, you don't really know what's happened,
yep,
and you're now playing a guessing game as to what could potentially go wrong. And even and this is the problem with hacking. Even if you haven't been hacked and you think you might have been hacked, it can be just as damaging as if you actually had been hacked, because you still
yep.
got to go through the whole process of all the auditing, security, and rebuilding stuff. It's an absolute nightmare, and more and more it's becoming an issue, because we're seeing this. A few years ago, I didn't really see it happening that much. Well, okay, it did happen, but it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. Nowadays, it's happening all the time,
Yep.
all the time.
We are living in digital era, and
Yeah,
it will be happening or more and more often, especially when there are lots of IoT products. You already have like lots of camera from China, like the webcams. Those application, those cameras, they have like zero security,
yeah.
and that's why I'm spending more money on tools or technology that is built not in China, but in some, or I don't care about the location, but I'm more care about the company, and if they are really going to create more fixes, or they really care. So that's the reason why I'm using different type of firewalls, and I've got layers of firewalls, even if I'm at home. And I know it sounds like being a paranoid, but I'm not. It's really dangerous out there, and it's, and especially with WordPress, as you describe it, it's like 30% of all websites out there are running on WordPress system. So it's very easy target for hackers, because if they create one
Lots
application
of
that
targets.
yeah, and
Yeah,
and that means more profit for them. So definitely I'm going to see that there will be more WordPress hacks and more tools that will try to prevent those. But if you follow the few simple steps, like good web hosting, Cloudflare, Firewall, Malcare, and really strong passwords, plus you're really going to update everything, you should prolong the time before you're going to be really hacked by some tool, because there could be, as you described, zero day vulnerability, and you can be hacked in the same day before they have even chance to fix it.
yeah.
And that happened not only with contact form, but recently it was like media folder, something, some plugin, and 400,000 websites using that were could be potential target to those hackers that were using it. So it's really important also, uh, subscribes yourself, or at least to some distribution list about the new vulnerabilities, or at least go to Twitter and follow few people who knows their stuff, especially from the WordPress world, and get the notification from them, because these are two ways how I'm describing new vulnerabilities and trying to protect my server, because I'm getting those notifications from those people on Twitter, plus also some distribution lists, emails, or emails from distribution lists that are telling me that new vulnerability was discovered on WordPress, and I need to find out if I'm using that same plugin somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So this, as I said to you before, Jan, this fits into a series of videos and blogs that I'm writing on data privacy, and security is a big part of that. But I think what we've done, even though you and I are both massive advocates for WordPress, we think it's great. We use it all the time. But yet, I think we have scared any WordPress user into thinking this could be an absolute nightmare of a project to go down a WordPress website. But in actual fact, WordPress is safer than many of the better Joomla, Drupal, all the other big sites have their vulnerabilities too. So you can never escape this other than not having a website.
And there is one thing that I also can add it to that is that if you pay for some professional developer, they will build a website, and that's all. It looks safer, but still you don't know if the developer made some error or create some issue or forget to type something. WordPress is open source. If they don't change it, it's open source, so that code is constantly checked by community. It's constant, and because so many people are using it, they are still working on the ways how to protect it and make it safer. So WordPress is definitely best way to how to build the website. If you are not looking for anything like super specific or special, the WordPress is, I don't want to scare anyone, but WordPress is definitely the best way how to create the website. And I, during my whole life, I built more than like 200 websites on WordPress and secured them all. And even that some of them were hacked because the people didn't upload or update their plugins, as you described as a second option, how those things, or first option, how those sites are hacked. So WordPress is definitely safer than any other option I know. Or you can run your website on text file on your on your computer, and that's it. But definitely WordPress is the best way how to build a website, and it's definitely a safer thing than anything else.
Well, on that happy note, that's brilliant. Thank you so much, Jan, for talking to me today. That's really useful. As I say, I'm going to be building other blogs and videos in around data privacy, data security, with the implications of GDPR and all the other legislations that are around. The risk of getting hacked is one of the big motivators for getting on top of data privacy. And also the other big reason that I'm going to talk about is the opportunity. Very excited to try and get people using technology effectively. And it really, I mean, you only have websites to create these opportunities for doing really clever business and automating and making things streamlined. Well, listen, thanks so much, Jan. Great talking to you, and we'll talk to you again.